Hello, welcome to Redmen TV. It's your daily news dose, which is not as sexually orientated as it might sound. But we'll see. We'll see how it develops.
Paul.
I'm back. We've got three things we want to discuss on the show today. News-wise, we've got a little bit about Jurgen Klopp and what could be an issue with the deal that Liverpool have signed, and two pieces of transfer news as well. But first, Chris, a drum that you've been beating for a few days, but let's beat it again.
Yes,
it's worth
the
beating.
fantasy football. We're doing the Sky one, of course. The pin to enter, it's skysports.com/fantasy football. There's the pin. It's 823-4280 to join our league. Paul, you've not designed your team yet. Aubrey spent hours on his team.
I like the idea that it's designed,
hours.
though.
Well, it is designed
Designed
of course
team,
it is.
yeah.
I have tinkered, and we won't be releasing our sides until tomorrow. My team is a third of the way there, and I've spent probably an hour on it so far. This is serious. I've basically called everybody out for the last 2 days and said that I'm going to win this. I've not used the cream rises to the top line yet.
And there it is.
But once I'm a month in and miles behind you, that's when that line's going to come out.
Absolutely.
Enough of that shit.
There's an important thing to remember that Chris takes fantasy football very, very seriously. So it's definitely worth getting involved. Ever so seriously, since I taught you not to put defensive midfielders in your team.
Let's not mention that anymore, Paul.
Team man, man.
It was a long time ago and you've not beaten me since.
Absolutely. So
unless it's Mondogal.
So yeah, I won't be putting that much thought into my team. I will, because what'll happen is
I'll
pay attention
feelings,
for the first week, and then I'll forget about it, and then I'll come back a month later, and then I'll do a bit, and then I'll forget it and come back. That's how I roll in fantasy football.
And basically, there's your ammunition right there. That's why you want to be playing fantasy football, so that you can say you've beaten Paul Machin of the Redmen TV, even if he gets his excuses in before the season.
What was the pin again?
Started 823-4280.
Yes. So first bit of news actually came out yesterday. It's been out this week anyway. Liverpool have signed a deal with Sky Germany. For them to have coverage of all of Liverpool's Premier League games, plus delayed coverage of both cups, both domestic cups as well. I initially, when I saw this deal, I thought, okay, great, yeah, cool. It means more exposure for Liverpool. It's a privilege that an entire branch of Sky wants to have access to Liverpool. The more I've looked at it, I think we need. I'm not 100% happy with it.
Oh dear. He's come back, he's had a week off, and we're already disagreeing 3 minutes into the first show. You know what? I was a bit sort of, and I wasn't really that arsed about it until 2 minutes before we went live.
Yeah.
Aubrey told me a story about what his dad said about it. I think, am I right in saying it was your dad that said it? And it changed my entire views on it straight away. Because you know, when you hear something, you go, fuck, of course, that's right. Germany are producing really good players at the minute. We're now tapping into that market. You've got young German footballers getting to know the history of Liverpool Football Club, buying into one of the world's best managers and seeing the behind the scenes of the training and how that's done. And that's almost a scouting tool in itself, to an entire market of people that know nothing about Liverpool Football Club. And, you know, it's a great way for Liverpool to sell itself to those players, to that audience. And it could, look, the other thing is that I know about Jurgen Klopp is he's not going to get involved in something he thinks is wool. Quite frankly, they tried to do a deal with Sky when he was at Dortmund where they wanted to do Klopp Cam and they wanted to follow him up and down the touchline, and he said no to it because he didn't feel comfortable with it. He will not agree to something he doesn't think is in the best interest of the football club. Yeah. And like transfers and stuff, I'm a bit like, okay, well, if Klopp thinks it's a fucking good idea, then I'm kind of just behind that.
Yeah, I think I 100% agree. Everything you said, 100% agree with it. I think the benefits of that, and that was my initial thoughts on it, were everything you've just said there. Absolutely fantastic, because I actually, it was funny, one of the games, it must have been the Chelsea, maybe it was the Chelsea game over in the States, the Rose Bowl, and it was half full at best. And I think someone said to me, like, why do you think it's only half full? And I said, well, I don't think it's been very well promoted, or maybe we're not that famous anymore, you know. And I think that there's tapping into, it's all well and good tapping into American markets and tapping into the Far East and that, but, you know, get into the European market, because ultimately, look at, like, there where you're buying players from. You know what I mean? You know, look at winning the Champions League. Kids around Europe watch the Champions League, so getting to Champions League finals puts us on that stage. So we need to try and replicate that kind of thing. Exactly what you're saying there. So I agree with it entirely from that perspective. Fantastic in potential. What I don't like about it is it's when it's the Liverpool documentary all over again. You know what I mean? Just to some extent.
And that's
now,
the Klopp thing,
exactly. Now it's aided by the fact that it'll be in German, so at least it won't be if like Channel 5 are not going to pick it up. You know what I mean? Unless there was a subtitle it or whatever. So and of course player interviews will be in English and whatever. It's just the problem that thing had was it gave away too much of Liverpool behind the scenes. And I know Klopp will have had an impact on it, but like Brendan Rodgers had no say in the We Are Liverpool?
We Are Liverpool.
Being Liverpool,
yeah.
He had
we did a parody.
I know. He had no say in that whatsoever, and that was it. And he hated the fact that was like foisted upon him or whatever. And I would trust that Klopp would have a say in a degree of it, but also it's one of those things, isn't it? Sometimes those things can be too much. Is my only moderate concern on it. But as you say, from the perspective of it's what it can potentially do in terms of our reach.
No, I will only talk about. I've seen a few examples of this type of a show. So, Hard Knocks is an NFL broadcast that comes out before every season, and it's a few episodes. I can't remember if it's 4 or 6 episodes, and it follows that team only during pre-season. Though it doesn't follow them during the season, but it's so good, and they change the team every year. And I don't know whether it's broadcast in the same way. I'm sure it is broadcast in America, but you get to see some of these things, and you probably do get to see a little bit too much from behind the scenes. You get to see what the coach is like, but you do genuinely buy into these teams. Like, I didn't give a shit about the Houston Texans when their Hard Knocks came out. I bought into those personalities and stuff, and you can see that when you are trying to grow a market, then that's the fucking way to do it. Like,
absolutely. What it
you
comes
humanise
back to,
them ultimately.
Yeah, true. But the look at it like
it's shit for Scousers though.
Yeah,
I hate that. I hate because we don't get the access.
Yeah, that. But I think the problem is that shit will happen in that, and it'll get fed back in, and it won't get fed. People won't be able to see it, so they won't be able to judge it.
Chinese whispers.
Exactly. You know what I mean? There'll be shit that comes out of it, and it's just another potential avenue for Liverpool to make fucking dickheads of themselves, which they've never been short of in the past. But again, if it's another amount of revenue coming into the club, if Jurgen Klopp's cool with it, and if it means that the next generation of German youngsters make Liverpool their second team, fucking bonza for that. Like, okay, moving on to transfer news then. You know what? We'll save the actual links in for last because I'm so bored of Benteke talk that I don't want to do that last. So let's do it now and get it out the way.
Okay.
Now it looks as though
2 weeks off. And he's bored of Benteke talk. Poor Aubrey had to talk about it for like 6 days on the bounce when there was no news.
Well, should give you an indication of how bored I was prior to going away. Yeah. It's Yannick Bolasie's gone to Everton by all accounts, which means they're going to spend the money on Christian Benteke. And now apparently the one of the big stumbling blocks, Chris, was his wages, and it looks like they're prepared to pay the frankly scandalous £120,000 a week.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, it's a lot of money, and they're looking to meet the asking price as well, aren't they? You know, we were bandying around 25 million the last time we spoke to them, I think, and now it's like closer to 30, 32 million, 32.5 million's even been mentioned and stuff, and £120,000 a week. But let's not forget, the guy still scored, was it 9 goals in the Premier League last season for us? And, you know, he's not had, by all accounts, he's had a shocker.
Yeah.
And 9 goals in the Premier League, was our top Premier League scorer. I think even maybe Firmino got 10. But, you know, he was definitely 1 or 2 in our Premier League scores. And that's a guy in a shit season. Plus, you're looking at it and you go, okay, they've actually bought some decent players. Crystal Palace, I think Townsend's a perfect man to knock balls into Christian Benteke. Bolasie would have been the other option, of course. He'll do good. He'll do good there.
Yeah.
If the team's built around him, he'll do well. That's the main thing.
I'm very happy because he was very briefly being linked with Everton, and the notion of them signing Yannick Bolasie and Christian Benteke, the Liverpool destroyers, would have let me. Well, I'd been like, right, Everton are defo winning the fucking derby this season, defo, simply based on that. But no, fine. You know, you're right. The Benteke thing.
Sorry.
It's easy to slide Benteke off because Liverpool fans love a scapegoat, don't we? We love someone to say, hey, he's shit. But they're not shit. We've had very few genuinely shit players at Liverpool. He is a good player. He's still young. He will score goals. He does score goals. He has scored goals. I'm just chuffed that we knew they were coming back. We always did. People were pooing their pants left, right, and centre when we kept up in the asking price, and then it was like, oh, they were going to walk away. Fine, let them walk away. They'll be back. Who are they going to get? Who else are they going to get? Honestly, and the only thing about it, Chris, is that if they're selling Balassi for 30 million. I want more than 32 and a half for Christian Benteke.
It's probably true, and if he'd have had a half-decent season, well, we would be talking about £40 million for Christian Benteke. The fact of the matter is, they also know that he's not getting game time. He was the one player in pre-season for us, thank you, Aubrey, for this stat, who never got 1 minute of football. So, talk about bombed out. When the amount of young kids and stuff that we actually had in our squad got game time and Christian Benteke never.
I genuinely wonder, because he was there, wasn't he? He was there. He went on
there
the tour.
towards the end of it, yeah.
So I wonder whether we took him just for practice.
Against him? Okay, yeah, that's an interesting
point.
Because
why would you take him? What was I mean, I know you want to keep him fit so that he's a sellable asset, but Balotelli's been with the under-21s. Yeah. You know, so Benteke, you know, because I saw them in training.
I suppose it's to keep his value. If you put him in the under-21s, everybody knows that actually you're going to get him for cheaper if you just continue, because he's not been taken away.
I just really genuinely hope right, we've got one last go at this. Everyone learn everything there is to know. But if nothing else, teach Klavan. Get Klavan and Matip playing against them, because these are the great hope next season. The only people going to be able to stop them. So yeah, there's that. Okay, yeah, you know, let us know in the comments. Are you happy that Liverpool have held out for this long? You know, and ultimately, what are your thoughts on Benteke? Where do you think he will be a success at Crystal Palace? Transfer news in. Say news. Let's go. Let's say rumours on this one.
Yeah, rumours.
Heavy rumours.
Heavy rumours.
Heavy rumours. Fat, heavy, sopping rumours. Leandro Paredes is a Roma midfielder. He's been on loan at Empoli. And he was at Chievo, and I think he started at Boca earlier on in his career. Liverpool being linked with a 16 million move for him. I actually don't know whether that's... I wrote pounds. I don't know whether that was true, whether it was euros, but...
I don't know who he is, Paul, to be honest with you. Yeah. I've looked at him this morning. I found out that he's a defensive midfielder. I was a little bit surprised that we were linked with the defensive midfielder. I've talked myself into us not needing a defensive midfielder this season.
Kev Stewart?
I don't know. What I'm thinking along the lines of, and watch the tactics show that we put out yesterday, the evolution of Klopp's tactics, is if we're going to start playing more of this three-man midfield, I think there's a general collective duty to be a defensive midfielder for us. I don't think we need an out-and-out defensive midfielder, apart from for maybe you're looking at the obvious thing to say is for 2-3 games a season, and for that I don't think you have a defensive midfielder on your books.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit surprised about that, to be honest with you. Look, you know.
Well, he's a defensive stroke centre stroke. He plays through the middle of the park essentially, doesn't he? Which would make you think that, to be fair, I think he only scored 2 goals and got 1 assist last season, which is, you know, if he's playing at DM, then, you know, he's not gonna yeah, you know, I'd still want a couple more really from a new look Liverpool. But it's that thing of, does that make him more of an Emre Can style defensive midfielder, whereby you'd expect him to, not like a Lucas or not like a Kev Stewart, just someone who has the ability to get further up the pitch. He's 22, only just turned 22 as well. Made 30 appearances for Empoli last season. Fine.
Who else were linked with him? Because there was a couple of other teams, wasn't there?
I think Man City.
So that's Man City's centre-back of the future. That's their Mascherano style thing, because they've already moved Fernandinho. Yeah. And, you know, I don't think they'll be wanting the likes of... I think they'll maybe have an eye on a defensive mid for that other spot as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting we're not being linked with more left-backs, and there will be a couple of links which we'll discuss tomorrow, I guess. I briefly floated this in the office before. I wouldn't be surprised to see us going for some point between now and the end of the window for another like pacey attacking.
Well, why don't we do? Because you know, it's an interesting point. Why don't we do that on the stock exchange show that we're doing later? Okay,
so cool. Yeah, we're going to be doing a 2-part stock exchange special. The first part's going to be on YouTube. You can check that out, where we look at the values. If you haven't seen that brand of show before, it's look at the values of all Liverpool players and whether we feel that over pre-season their value has gone up, and not in terms of like financial value, but value to the club in terms of whether they played themselves into first team contention and whether it's gone down. Always a very, very interesting one. You can check that out. I say 2 parts. Both parts will be on the redmentv.com. So if you haven't done already, go and subscribe. What's wrong with you? You must have some sort of mental problems. Nothing says.
The views of Paul Machin are his own, by the way, at this point. We're completely disowning him.
Nothing says come and give us £2 a month like insulting your mental intelligence or health. But well, there we go. There we have it.
We tend to. Yesterday, I think we insulted Bogdan's dad. So today, it's
everyone who watches
the show.
You came back from America and insulted everyone who didn't live in England by saying, "I'm not going to tell you the times of the games. Just fucking find out for yourself."
Brilliant.
If
you haven't done so already, subscribe, of course, to the YouTube channel. That's completely free, as is the redmentv.com for the first month. Thanks for watching. Thoughts below.